So I'm Lilian. I'm excited to be giving this F31 workshop as to close out my first month here as a new CCPR junior fund manager. We are fortunate enough to have two guest speakers join us. They're CCPR alumni, Andrew Hess, who is a consultant in economics, and Yoon-hee Park, who is now a postdoc at George Washington. So before I get started, I wanted to get a sense of the room. So most of you are graduate students, I imagine. Have any of you applied to a fellowship before? One? Oh, a couple? All right. Which fellowships?
It's at the NIH or
No, any fellowship.
some history fellowships.
Academic history fellowship?
History Association.
How about you?
More language ones and
Okay.
then internal reasoning.
Okay, great. Gotcha. Have any of you been successful? Yes? What'd you get?
Global through UCLA.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, does that also pays for stipend?
It doesn't pay for a stipend, but it pays for the research.
Have any of you applied to the F31 before? No. Okay, so this is gonna be brand new for everybody. This is really great. So most of you probably know some benefits of applying to fellowships and training grants. You get career development. You get to actually plan out what you're gonna do during the entire PhD. I think everybody thinks they know what they're gonna do, but the second you start to write it down, you realize, okay, maybe I don't know exactly what's going on. Plus you're gonna plan the professional skills, like what sort of courses you're gonna take, what skills you're gonna learn, who your team is gonna be. And you can recycle all of this writing for any sort of applications in the future. You're gonna apply to a conference, an abstract, that sort of thing. So this is a really great just thing to do so that you have something in your back pocket and you know what you're gonna do for your PhD. It is also a great experience navigating the NIH, so the National Institute of Health. It's a federal grant. So if any of you are funded by federal funding in the future, a lot of your mentors probably are, this is gonna be a great introduction. And of course, this is gonna pay your stipend so you can focus on research, take a break from TAing, and of course, you can put it on your CV. So other fellowships, I think there were some international students in the room before. Here are some other ones besides the F31 that you could apply to. So there's some private ones, the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, Russell Sage, and the Alfred P. Sloan. Those are open to international students, versus the federal ones like the NIH, NSF, and the CCPR T32, which is going to be opening in the spring. Those are for US citizens. And the NIH K99 F00, you might not know about that one. That one is meant to fund the last couple of years of your PhD and into the next few years of your postdoc. And so it bridges the transition. Okay. So eligibility, I think this is the biggest thing. As I said, you do have to be a US citizen to apply to these. But the biggest thing that it's going to knock anybody out is that you have to be doing health-related research. So I think we went around the room and a lot of you are doing health-related research. If you do come to me and you think, okay, I'm not sure, can I really make this health-related? Come to me and we can have a conversation about how you're going to make the case and frame it to maximize your chances of success.
They can also come to us.
Yes, and your mentors. Of course, you having conversations with your mentors.
I was funded under several mechanisms that someone on the outside might only loosely regard as related to my dissertation topic. So
right.
Faculty are good at reframing.
Perfect.
No.
So the National Institutes of Health, it's a cluster of institutes, and each of them have a different specific focus. So these are all of the different institutes, and the two that most of you are going to likely apply under is the NIA, which relates to aging, and the NICHD, which is Child Health and Human Development. Now, Child Health and Human Development might seem like it's really restrictive, but it's not, and so I wanted to include this on here to show you. So they have a population dynamics branch of the NICHD, and they focus on demography and population health. So it supports research on the scientific study of human populations, including And then population health, it supports how demographic, social, economic, institutional, geographic, and other factors influence human health, productivity, behavior. So it's really broad, and this is the place that you're gonna wanna apply to, especially because it's very CCPR related. Okay, so technically, the F31 is for 5 years of funding, but most people end up asking for 1 to 3 because they don't like to fund people past year 5 of their PhD. They really want people graduating. And you can apply 3 times during the year. The soonest one is December 8th. After that is April 8th and August 8th. It's the same every year. And so if you really, really wanted to, you could apply to the December 8th if you get hustling. But this is likely going to be prepped for your April 8th application. And so you can have a lot of conversations with your mentors, do a lot of the writing, the thinking, coming to us to plan everything. So if after hearing that, you think, okay, I definitely want to apply to this or a different fellowship, I want you to know that you can come to us. You have a team. A lot of this can seem overwhelming. It's really less work than it looks like. So we have Steve, who's been doing this for a decade. He's helping with a lot of this. Ashley, she's new and she can do a lot of the writing support. And me, of course, you can come to me right at the beginning. And I can set you up with conversations about whether your research is related, how to frame it, that sort of thing, where to apply, which institute to apply to. And I also have a checklist. So this is a 1-page checklist of everything that you need to get to us in order to apply. So if you've gone to the NIH website already and gone through the documents, you might have opened the 110-page instruction and been a little overwhelmed with that. Okay, I probably can't do this on my own. And I have condensed that into a booklet, which I can set you up with. So it has every single thing that you need with the instructions right next to it. And I'll set you up with a folder on Google Drive so that you can keep everything there. It has templates, all of the things that you need to submit, and then you'll get that to me and Steve, and we'll submit everything for you. Okay, great. So there are 3 things that they're really funding: you, your project, and your training potential. Because they know that no matter how promising the candidate, no matter how great the research, if the training potential isn't there, if you don't need to learn anything, if the institution isn't really dedicated to you, they don't want to fund you because you're not going to have the best career development or the career trajectory possible, right? So these are all the different components. So your project, very important. Title, narrative, abstract. But the biggest thing is the research training and the research strategy. It's 6 pages. So you'll be putting together 6 pages of your research. And then your training. This is the stuff that you probably don't already have and you haven't thought about yet. Candidate goals, preparedness, and potential, plus the training activities and timeline. It sounds really vague, like you have to have a big plan, but you're probably doing a lot of this stuff already. You're taking courses, you're coming to seminars and workshops like this one. You can put this onto your training plan. You're learning specific data analysis methods. You're going to conferences and you're going to be able to plan this because the F31 pays for you to be able to go to conferences and a little bit of money also for data. And then your team's commitment to you. So this is where you're reaching out to your community. Your mentor, your previous mentors, you need 3 letters of reference from your previous activities. And your sponsor in this case means your mentor who's going to be overseeing your research, right? And so they need to do some work for you as well, helping you with this training plan, demonstrating to the federal government that yes, I do care about this person's development and I care about their trajectory and I care about turning them into an independent investigator, which essentially means just a professor doing research in the future. Great. So next, since we do have some time, does anybody have questions? First of all, I'll pause there. Yes.
Is it bad to apply multiple times? Like,
No.
if you apply in April, they're not like, oh, they already applied in December, like, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
application wasn't that good at that, but.
That's actually a really great point. Most people will end up applying twice. The good thing about this application, and federal applications in general, if you don't get it, you get what's called a summary statement. And in the summary statement, the reviewers that have read your application are going to tell you exactly what they liked and didn't like about your application. And in the next time, you'll be able to submit an introduction page saying what you changed about your research and addressing everything that they gave you. And it's going to be a lot easier to know exactly what to change about your application, what they didn't like about your training plan, and you're much more likely to get it that time. So I would encourage people to try if they didn't get it the first time. In fact, I applied 4 times for a fellowship before I was successful. I applied to the NSF GRFP twice, then the Gilliam HHMI, and then I finally made it to the F31. Yeah, so this is a great plan just for doing your research, but it could take a couple times, and that's okay. Yep.
Then how binding is like your research statement? Like if the data doesn't pan out, are you like locked in?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's ever gonna come back and say, hey, did you do this research? You will submit a yearly progress report on what you did, but in the progress report, all you have to do is tell them, hey, this didn't work out. We're switching to this other thing. You're just telling them what you're doing every year. And no one is ever going to say, oh, hey, you didn't do this, we're taking the money away. As long as you're showing that you're doing some research and talking about it, you should be fine.
But that has to still be within health. Okay.
Yeah.
How do the deadlines work for actual disbursement of funds? Is it like December for next year and then April for the year?
Right, so it's not going to happen right away. I think December, it'll start funding you in August. I'm looking at Steve, he's the one who would know.
Sounds right.
You
Every
do-
program is slightly different, so it might not
Mhm.
necessarily be August, but
Yeah, so
it will be within a year.
yeah. So you'll find out generally, if you apply in December, you'll find out in the spring, whether you get it or not. So it's, a few months ahead.
Can I ask a technical question, Steve?
Yes.
If we do 30-day, or is it like 90-day prior spending, if they're awarded and say the spending we're supposed to start in December, could we start them at the beginning of the term? Is that allowed?
It's tough, I'd have to look that up, but that 31s, you need to, almost, you initiate it, you get the award notice and then you say, I'm going to, you pick your own starting date, basically. So I've never looked into the 90-day pre-award spending part of that, just because it's, doesn't arrive with a start date, it arrives with a range of dates from which you can start.
I'm asking because one of the things you can do for other types of NIH awards is you can spend up to 3 months in advance. And so I'm wondering if that that April deadline would work for all of you for fall. Say if you got funded, I mean, I'm not sure that it would, but we can check into that and see if that's a possibility.
That seems a little quick, but yeah, we can look into that.
Lilian, to the question about, what if your research doesn't pan out the way you expected?
Mhm.
Would it be fair to say this is really a training grant
Yeah.
and not a research grant?
Yeah.
So the emphasis is gonna be much more on the training that you're getting while
Right.
you're here, and the plan for the training and the research is in service?
No,
The F31s, I thought that was the case. The R99s is like a baby research grant for grad students.
The student that I've had one student who was successful recently, and theirs, I think the training plan was like a page long.
Yeah.
What's
Research grant.
discussed in the committee though? I've been on this committee many
I
times.
see.
And,
Yeah.
That you think it was the training plan, not the research grant, then?
It's all important, but
Mhm.
I guess I'm saying that if your research pivots in some way, or it
Oh,
doesn't come out exactly the way you went.
Yeah,
And if your training plan, it's not clear what the added value is gonna be of the training, you have no chance of getting.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing is, like, if you don't have a good dissertation proposal.
Oh, no, you have to
Research
put
grant,
everything.
that's a requirement.
Yeah, no, what you propose has to, I mean, it shows bad mentoring actually, if what you're proposing is not a good plan, and to them, that would be a signal. of-
Okay, got it.
yeah.
But just enough, the earliest start date for the December 8th, proposal date is July 1st.
What about the
For
April?
the December date, okay.
I'm asking about the April.
April, it's September.
Okay, so they could get the, so the April date would, if you got that scored. Yeah, you could, in theory, be funded for the whole.
Right. Okay, great.
It's kind of related to the training, think about training, the timing, when, like, I'm close to getting out of here.
Sure.
And if it's like I think if the September, which is like the earliest that I could reasonably do it, that would be in my last year. Is
Right.
that like a
What
feasible
you-
to me? Just started the 5th year.
Just started the 5th year. I think, so you just started the 5th year, so it would be for your 6th year. I think we would have to have a conversation about writing very specifically that your program goes to 6 years if you're being an academic, because then it's 5 years if you're not, 6 years if it is. They don't like to fund after 5 years, but if it's your program specifically and we make it really clear, then it would work. Yep,
You mentioned earlier that there is a little money for data available.
Yes.
F31. And so, for example, if you were to use your mentor's quantitative data to run an analysis,
Mhm.
and you want to pair that with qualitative data, you provide test part of your F31.
Mhm.
Would you have money available to pay to compensate those participants who participate in the qualitative?
It's only about $4,000 to $5,000 that you have for other activities. It depends on how many people and how much you're going to pay them.
Isn't part of that funding though allocated to your health insurance?
No, so that would be separate. So other funding, so you get your stipends, you get your health insurance, you get your tuition, that's in one bucket. Then there's another bucket that's about $4,000 to $5,000 that pays for conference travel, data, if you need it. It's basically just a little extra fund for, any sort of research activity.
So some departments may require that you use your, the funding for health insurance
Really? Okay.
costs, but I can't, that would be a conversation with your,
With your department?
Yeah.
Okay,
We can try to pre-negotiate this. part.
Yeah. okay, great.
No.
Any other questions?
Are there restrictions on other funding you can receive while you're on? the
You do
payroll?
have to disclose other funding that you're receiving. If it's a huge amount, you probably will not be funded, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, sorry, anyone? No, okay. So as we discussed, and I think it is really important to talk about again, they are funding you as a person and your potential for training. So if you know everything and you propose something, that you know everything for, you don't really need a lot of training, you're not gonna get it, even if you're amazing and the project is amazing. The training still does have to be there. And your sponsor still has to be committed to you. So it really is a 3-point, proposal. Okay, so I think we have 10 more minutes before I wanted to start our Q&A. So I'll go over a couple things that may be new to you, that are specific to this application and federal NIH applications. The first is the specific aims page. So the research plan is one specific aims page and 6 of the research strategy. So the specific aims page should be a full summary of everything that you're going to do. So what's a specific aim? It's the goals that you're doing, right? So this is an excerpt from Andrew Hess's F31. He has said that we can give you all the his proposal to work off of. If you'd like an example, it can be really helpful. So he has 3 aims here. So he had a little bit of an introduction, 3 aims, 1, 2, and 3. And these are all related to what he's going to be doing. So construct a new data set linking housing, age to South Carolina's Medicaid, education, and crime data. Develop and validate a new research design to estimate the causal effects of children's lead exposure on their long-run educational and delinquency outcomes. And then quantify effects of this exposure to future educational and criminal outcomes. So when you're doing these aims, you want to make sure that they are not too interconnected, that if one of them fails, you will still be able to do the other 2. Because one of them might fail. It's research, right? So you shouldn't have them be dependent on one another. And this can often be the most difficult thing to write because it is so short. And it has to have everything that you need just on one page. Next, the training. So this I took from Yoon Heat's proposal. They do really love seeing tables like this. This can look like a lot, but you're probably doing most of what's on here. So training goal 1, mentored research activities versus 2, coursework and seminars, 3, professional development, 3 is PhD program benchmarks. And so you're looking at when you're doing each of the aims that you're proposing. So aim 1, aim 2, aim 3. And you're looking at, okay, this is what I'm gonna do the data use agreement. This is when I'm gonna get the approvals. This is when I'm gonna start this. This is when I'm gonna start that. They love seeing that you've thought this out. You know exactly what year that you're gonna be doing this stuff in, and that you're doing the same for the training. So coursework and seminars, advanced epidemiology courses, you're all taking coursework, right? So you're gonna be able to write some of the stuff down. Ethics in public health courses, CCPR, here we go, CCPR, MCH, CHIPTS, journal club seminars. You could put this, the fact that there are faculty club seminars and workshops that you go to every week, that's this. Versus professional development, grant writing workshops, like this one, you know, already this is filled out for you guys. Present my work in progress at seminars, career development workshops, and attend research at a national and international conferences. So it's really nice to have it laid out like this. They really love it, and it will help. It will help you, you know, get one. So, do you want to give any more advice? You are the expert because you've been in the room reviewing these.
Yeah, it's interesting the way, so I did for NICHD, and we do the F32s usually first, and so you're very much, you really do have the training mindset in your head, and you get to the F31, and so in terms of the research is really important, but it's really meant to be kind of the research and service of your training. So it should be a really high quality project because it's also not a very good training mechanism for you if the research itself is not going to stretch you and all of that. So I totally agree. Anything you can do to make it easy for the community to see what the added value is, because I definitely remember sometimes we'd see a great application, but we're like, well, this person seems to be doing all of this already anyway. Like, why do we need to fund them? So if there's any way that you can be clear, like, I have some, you know, specific training goals here that I want to fulfill through the F31. It really, really does help. They want added value. They're looking at you as an investment in your career and developing you as a top scholar.
Can I ask, is a question for Megan, but I will say it's the approach that Andrew took, and he's on the line too, but in terms of getting his funded, is like the pitch for added training was like, I'm an economist, I've taken a lot of classes in econ, and I really want to do this more interdisciplinary health
That was
thing.
why.
So I'm gonna see
Yeah.
people, I'm gonna go to some seminars in the School of Health. And so one of the things that I'll say that because all of you are in this room, you were already doing interdisciplinary stuff, but you can still use the same types of pitch. Like I'm trained as a political scientist, or I'm trained as a sociologist, or I'm trained as an epidemiologist, but
Yeah.
economists are great at causal inference, so I'm gonna take a metrics class or something you want to do anyway, like that kind of stuff. Is that?
100%. That's beautiful because that's like clear, like this person is an awesome, whatever they already are, but they want to develop this other capacity that's very clearly defined. And for some of you, that may actually be really developing the health angle. That would be like the sweet spot on something like this.
I've also, just one more thing to kind of think about it is it is part of this too, and I think this is probably what you're going to next, is that if you say, for example, like I'm an economist, I would like to get training in public health, for example, it's nice to have a mentor from that school on your grant.
Yes.
Right,
yes,
so
yeah.
it's the same kind of thing if you're not in economics, but you want to take causal inference, econometrics, machine learning, something like that that's happening in the econ department. It's really useful to actually have an economist who's on there. So you're kind of credibly demonstrating you're not just doing this. And part of the money then is like they're buying you out of your teaching responsibilities with this fellowship so that you have the time to do that and make that extra. So I think it's not actually a heavy lift. It sounds like a heavy lift to have this big training plan, but for a lot of you, you want to do this anyway. You're actually doing it because you're here. So I think it's kind of easy.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. It's so true.
Yeah, that is something I didn't mention. So having a sponsor and potentially a co-sponsor or just a letter of support. So basically just a professor who will support you in the way that Martha was just describing can write a letter. We have a lot of templates, so it won't be a huge lift for them either. If they can get added, they love that. They love seeing that there is a village around you looking to support you.
Megan, is there anything else that you can recommend for the training plan that you think would be kind of a light touch or?
Well, I think your point about the having on your mentoring team people who represent the expertise that you're saying you want to develop, I think that's critical. That's like low hanging fruit as a criticism of applications, of someone saying they want a certain type of training and there's no one who's really an expert in that training. And they want, so what'll happen is on these committees, there'll be, you know, in some fields, there may only be 1 or 2 people in the room who actually represent that field. And they will definitely get a bee in their bonnet if you say you want to be trained in their area and there's no one with expertise in that area on your application. So I think it's a really easy way to put yourself in a good light and make it more competitive is that. I think it's really essential. And I think Martha's point about, you know, for us in an interdisciplinary center, there are a lot of opportunities for you to get engaged with people who are working in fields outside your PhD. So that's what I was saying about what's the added value here? If you are, so I'm in sociology. If I'm a sociologist and I'm saying, I want to go to work with these other sociologists, that's probably going to be a little bit of a snore to the, you know, committee. But if you say, you know, I'm a sociologist, now I want to go get some training in health economics or, you know, something else like that, that is exactly the kind of thing that will get people's attention.
Great. Yeah.
Sorry, I just actually have a really quick question. So for the relationship between the T32 and the F31, if we have the T32
Right.
now, can we apply for the F31?
Yes.
During the period of time?
So there are rules. It's that you can apply to like 5 years total of funding. And so you would just subtract the years that you had on your T32 from that total max. But usually you wouldn't be wanting to go past your 5th or 6th year anyway. So that's the only problem there.
And they got overlap, which is
Yeah,
like,
they can overlap,
Andrew, as he was a T32 before he had an F31. And we needed to like start his, we added ends his T32 1 day early in order to start it within a certain level, but it's definitely has been done. People can do both. Back to back.
Any other questions?
Okay, just to follow up on Martha's question about for you or expending, it's not allowable on fellowships for the stipend and tuition portion. But if you did have like supplies and equipment that you could ask for permission to do that.
The April deadline still works for next fall, like that's the.
It should, it depends on when the committee meets and if you work, because it can be either September or December based on the committee there. But I think it has been in September. Like at here.
Any more questions? Okay, great. Then I think it's time to transition to our speakers, so you can ask them questions about their application process. What kind of you think can help you? Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much for coming and let me know if you need any help.
Thank you.